I think it's our job to get to a point where we can resist temptation. If you're constantly needs stimulation like that to go down a rabbit hole of drugs to have fun, maybe look in the mirror.
Yeah.
Stirling Cooper in the house as well. Welcome back, man.
Shout out to him, man.
Stirling, let's go. Let's go on the line.
Stirling Cooper, Justin Waller.
Stirling Cooper.
Award-winning adult film star and sex coach to thousands of men.
Helping men be better at sex and maintaining relationships.
I guess the quickest way to describe me is I'm a tired porn star.
Talk to me about your career in the porn industry.
I got a job in oil and gas. After the first year, I was getting a pay rise. And I looked at the paycheck and I did the math. I was like, I'm now going to make an extra $5,000 a year. And I thought, well, I'm never going to make decent money this way. I thought, you know what? I'll give it a try.
How does coffee affect your penis?
I personally have...
If somebody's watching this and they're suffering from porn addiction, what's the first step?
So I would say the first step is to...
Sterling Cooper.
How are we doing?
What's up, my brother?
Oh, I'm fantastic.
We just realized that we're from the same town.
You know?
Crazy.
As is the case.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Crazy. Well, I mean, you don't really meet many people here from Perth.
No.
And people that you meet from Australia, everyone's from Eastern States.
Yeah.
By the way, did you know that 98% of Australia's population is on the border, right? And something like 80-something% is on the East Coast.
Yes.
We're on the West Coast.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we are so isolated.
We're the world's most isolated capital.
Yeah, most isolated major city. Yeah. So, congratulations. We've made it out.
We got out.
We made it out.
Yeah. And our money made it out. Most importantly. Our money made it out, most importantly. Like,
That's true. I mean, look, it gave me everything. It's a great town. But, you know, I'll explain. Where do you live now?
I spend half my time in America and half my time in Spain.
So you have a house in America, a house in Spain.
Yeah.
Where in America?
Miami most of the time,
Okay.
but I'm relocating now.
Where are you relocating to?
I'm trying to decide still. I'm looking at different, like, plots of land to build a homestead, basically.
Okay.
I'm considering Tennessee.
Tennessee?
Yeah, like near the Appalachian Mountains.
Ooh.
It reminds me of home.
Okay.
You know, being like amongst woodland and farms and stuff like that. It reminds me of home. So.
I mean, that's the thing, you know, for me, leaving Perth, because Perth, everything closes at 9. Right?
It's this, you know, the best description of Perth was it's the city that always sleeps.
Yeah, always sleeps.
Right.
The opposite of New York. So, Perth, everything closes at 9, right? I mean, years ago, everything used to close at 6, and if you wanted milk, you had to only go to like the small convenience stores called IGA.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
So, now...
I remember that so vividly.
Memory lane.
From like, when I was in college, like the Leaderville IGA, I think it was, is the only one that's open.
Great IGA, that one.
Bro, it's great.
That's a great IGA. Hot food, hot food.
It had everything.
Cake. So, you know, when you live in Dubai, you then get used to this level of stimulation every day.
Right.
A lot of stimulation, right? You can't go back to that country life, village. You know, my friends here call me the village virgin. Because I'm like, I went to Ibiza for the first time 2 weeks ago. Right. My friends have been to Ibiza 8 times. Here.
I've still never been to Ibiza.
You still haven't been?
No.
I mean, I couldn't wait to leave.
Right.
I was there for 3 days, and it's just like everyone's just looking at a DJ. Just it's like 7 a.m. You open the doors.
Yeah, I don't really get. I don't think I ever really got that, even when I was doing it.
Yeah.
I feel like I did it because that was sort of the way to hang out to party and hang out with your friends and maybe meet girls and stuff.
Yeah.
I never really enjoyed it, and especially now I've got like, you know, I've got great friends. I've got a great network. I've got, you know, I've got a fiance. I've got like whatever I want.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't really care.
Yeah.
For like the clubbing stuff.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I mean, there was no girls. Really? It was all dudes.
That's even worse.
It was all dudes. And I had to go because a friend of mine, his dad's worth 100 million. He's comes from a very wealthy family. They have a family office. He spent 30,000 euros on a table for one night. Right. 30,000 euros. And so I was like, sure, I'll come. It's your birthday. So we went there. So we had a good time. Everyone was like packed with sardines, and we had this area where we could do yoga. But still, just looking at the crowd, it was just all dudes. They were all like in this hyper trance, just with their hands up. No music, no words in the music. It was all just a beat, and it just wasn't my vibe. I couldn't wait to leave.
Yeah, it's weird. So I've started hanging out at this place. So I'm in Marbella is where I spend my time when I'm in Spain.
Sure.
And me and my buddies have just started hanging out at this like brand new kind of sports bar, and we're just playing darts all the time. it's like, and like there's like 3 dudes who are millionaires, dressed like shit, just playing darts. It's the stupidest thing ever. But we like, one of them's Irish, one of them's English. I'm Australian. It just feels like home to us to be in a pub watching sports, playing darts. It's weird, but we'll spend all night doing that over, going to a high-end club or whatever. I think I think I've got to this point in my life where I've kind of tried everything. Yeah. Or everything I've wanted to try. Yeah. I don't want to try heroin, for example. No. Right? But everything else, I don't even really I don't smoke marijuana. I've never don't do recreational drugs or anything like that. But experiences-wise, I've kind of tried a little bit of everything, and I'm like, I know what I do and don't like. Yeah. So
we need to take your DNA and we need to see how you come from Perth and did not do any drugs. We need to figure out what this specimen is of human that's from Perth.
It didn't take Molly.
And did not do meth.
I had a buddy who went to jail for he got caught dealing. Yeah. It was ecstasy. It was dealing meth. It was dealing ecstasy. So I have plenty of friends who were like kind of, in that kind of party scene. Yeah. Yeah, and they didn't really get out. Yeah.
Look, it's a quite small town. There's nothing to do but drugs.
And that's the thing. I think that's a trap that a lot of people fall into in big cities. Because like everyone from the countryside goes to Perth to look for like more excitement, look for more stimulus, like you said. Yeah. But really, if you're a boring person, you're gonna be boring in a big city as well. Yeah. It's not. I think you should probably start if you're constantly need stimulation like that, or you need like to go down a rabbit hole of drugs to have fun. Yeah. Maybe look in the mirror. Yeah.
Well, it's like money. It just makes more of who you are. Yeah. Right. Yeah. Okay. So we've jumped around from a few topics. So wait, why are you leaving Miami? That's what I want to know.
Same reason I probably don't spend a lot of time here. Same reason I don't live in a big city anymore is I just got sick of it. Okay. I honestly got sick of like all the things we just described, like the drugs, the nightlife stuff, like
hedonism.
Definitely the hedonism and the degeneracy. Yeah, especially Miami. Miami's like full of that stuff. It's like everywhere. It's like if you're on Tinder or whatever, and don't get me wrong, I'm definitely not a picture perfect guy. Like I've been a degenerate, right?
Sure,
but
your job was to be the degenerate.
It was completely. So weekends you're on Tinder or a dating app or whatever, and it's just like every weekend it's the same thing again. Friday, Saturday, Sunday, it's girls coming in looking to party at a club or go on a boat, and it's like, and then the middle of the week, it's so funny. Like you get all these 30-plus-year-old women who put a lot of work into looking beautiful. Yeah, like they're hitting the gym, they got big fake titties or whatever. Yeah, and they're like, why can't I find a nice guy? Why can't I find a guy to settle down with me? I'm like, you're in the wrong city for a start. And it was sort of just seeing all this sort of really depressing sides of humanity in that city that I was like, I just really don't want to be around this. I'd rather get out, back to my roots, get like where I live in Spain. I go on hikes all the time. I'm in nature. You know, it's it's actually quieter for most of the year than, like right now it's busy, so it's summer. But Marbella is actually a really nice, quiet town the rest of the year. I know, I'm around for good. I want good friends, peace and quiet, nature, healthy food. I'm happy.
So, how does Miami compare to Dubai?
You know what? They're not that dissimilar. Although the food, like the restaurant scene in Dubai, is way better. Okay. You have lots more of those places that are kind of like a dinner and a show, like Billionaire. Yep. These kind of places. Yep. Dinner and a show stuff here is fantastic. And I think I think Dubai tries to appeal more to a European crowd. Yeah. To English or mainland Europeans like Swedish and stuff like that, and Russians. And so they do a lot of those very fancy restaurants that turn into kind of like a nightlife crowd. Spain, Marbella has some of those places. Ibiza, I've heard, have some of those places as well. Miami doesn't really have that. They have nice restaurants. They don't have the same style that you have here.
Clubs.
Then you have like a restaurant, then you have just a club.
A club. Yeah, like Australia.
Yeah, exactly like Australia. Exactly like Australia. Yeah.
Interesting. Okay. So, how did you choose Spain as being your second location?
Honestly, I ended up there on a car rally in 2022. Yeah. Started in London, did a car rally through France, Portugal, Spain, ended up in Marbella. Met a couple of guys there. We hit it off great. And then I went back later that year in October, November. I did an 8-week fight camp where I trained for 8 weeks for my first ever amateur boxing fight. Yeah. Fell in love with the place.
Okay.
Yeah. Fell in love with how healthy it was, the lifestyle, how convenient everything was. I like to be able to walk to things. That's a very European thing. Being able to I can walk to everything I need to. I don't need to drive anywhere. And yeah, I was like, you know what? I wanted to get out of Miami for a bit and try something new. I've never lived in mainland Europe for like a long, long time. So I was like, you know, let's try Spain. And it's been fantastic.
When you introduce yourself to people, how do you introduce yourself? What do you say you are?
Depends if they know who I am.
Let's assume they do know who you are.
Yeah, well, I just say I'm Stirling Cooper, you know what I do. It's as simple as that.
But you don't know they know.
Oh, okay, well, okay, so if, it depends, let's give some context.
If they don't know who you are, what do you say?
If they don't know who I am and they ask, what do you do? Like just some random person, I'm like, oh, I do email marketing.
Okay.
Because, which is true, I do make my money through email marketing.
Sure.
So I'm not lying. But it doesn't, like, people don't want to start a conversation with an email marketer. They're like, it's like saying you're an accountant.
Sure.
Their eyes glaze over and like, oh, that's boring. And they just move on. And I'm like, excellent, cool. No need to go down that rabbit hole. If I've played around with saying, oh, I do YouTube, and then they get nosy, and I'm like, oh, fuck. Yeah. And I have to answer, they eventually like go down the rabbit hole, and I have to have a whole fucking conversation about it. Yeah. Then if I know that they know, or they have a rough idea, I'm like, yeah, I do YouTube, or I'll say I'm a sex coach for men. That's what if I'm getting the vibe that I know that they know, then I'll just say that. So like YouTube or you jizz. Yeah, you pick. To be actually, all that stuff that I managed to get basically 90% of that off now.
All the so on.
Off all those big sites. Wow. Yeah, at least the stuff that I have the ability to get off. Get rid of it.
You got rid of it. Is that what you want? You don't want that out there? I like to describe myself as retired and repenting these days. Seriously. So I think the industry's not a net positive for the society. Sure. Not a net positive for men or women. Yeah. It doesn't do anyone any favors. Yeah. It's bad. We shouldn't be. I don't recommend any guy consume it. And I am trying to do my best to undo what I consider to be the damage that I caused by participating in it. Yeah. You know. So, yeah. But it's an industry that's never going to go away.
No, I don't think it will. It's been around for a lot longer than people realize it has been.
Of course.
But then again, so have all vices. You know, like heroin's been around for quite a long time. Like, back to like the British Empire. Sorry, China. But,
China too. Yeah.
Yeah, but that's like vices have always been around, like alcohol as well, probably the oldest ones. Like, and the thing is, it's kind of our job to I think it's our job to get to a point where we can resist temptation like that. Recognize it for what it is. I mean, if you're blessed enough to have never ever been tempted by any of this stuff in the first place, good for you, fantastic. Yeah. But most of us have. Yeah. You know, and I think it's part of your journey as an adult to realize where you've fucked up. Yeah. And try to either make amends or correct your behavior. So. Yeah.
Well, it's the old saying, sex sells, right? Totally. And they did a study with monkeys where they taught monkeys that a banana is currency. And as soon as they taught monkeys bananas a currency, the monkeys would just go and give the bananas to the women and fuck them. Yeah. Right?
Yeah, use it for sex. Yeah.
Straight away. Yeah. So it's probably the age-old industry. It's like
it's just this base primal desire, and that encapsulates kind of like the male and female like dynamics a lot there, right? Women are seen as sex objects, and men are seen as success objects, right? And it's a lot of human psychology kind of boils down to that. Yeah. When you just start breaking things down and asking questions like why? Okay, why is this attractive? Why is that attractive? Why is this behavior like happening all the time? You just break it down. A lot of it comes down to sex. Yeah. It either comes down to sex, survival, or like looking after your offspring. It's one of those three things.
A lot of things comes back to sex, even success. Yeah. Trying to be successful, right? Trying to be the optimum primal mate, you know? Tell me the story about how you got into this industry, because you were a university student. Yeah. Right? Yeah. So you went to uni. Yeah. You studied chemistry. And you finished? You got your degree?
Yeah, got my degree. Worked in the industry for a few years. Yeah.
Okay. And then what happened?
Worked as a pharmaceutical research chemist, and I worked as an oil and gas quality control chemist. Okay. Did both of those jobs. So Jesus. I'm also a published scientific author. From before I graduated, during the year of my honors degree, I published a research article. I can't remember what journal we got in, but I can find it if you're ever interested.
So you published like a study?
Yeah, me and my supervisor, we joint published something together. Wow. Yeah, that was before I graduated. Wow. So I was a legit
different worlds.
Yeah, totally different world.
From one world to a complete different world.
Well, part of it was like so I did the pharmaceutical research stuff. I went on like a gap year kind of thing for a bit with some of the money I made. Came back to Perth, got another job in oil and gas, and I was working it for like 2 years. And like after the first year, it just didn't. I don't know why I never really thought of it like this, but after the first year, I was getting a pay rise, and I was like, okay, great. And I looked at the paycheck and looked at the pay rise, and I was when I did the math, I was like, okay, I'm now going to make an extra $5,000 a year.
Yeah,
$5,000 for a year's worth of work.
Yeah.
This is bullshit. I'm like, I'm never going to make decent money this way. Like the penny dropped. I don't know why it took that long, but a penny finally dropped. And I'm like, well, this ain't going to work. I need to find another way out.
Yeah.
And so I basically, what I actually did, this is a bit of a roundabout story. What I did was I got wind of this thing called the Blacksmith Leadership and Entrepreneurship Conference. And it was this thing that was put on by these 4 self-made American millionaires. And what they were doing is they would basically host 50 young entrepreneurs under the age of 25 for a week in Vilnius in Lithuania. You just had to fly yourself there, and they would mentor you for a week straight. 50 of us. And you had to do a video application. So I heard about it, and then applications closed that night. So I raced home, filmed my application, sent it in, and I got accepted. And so then I was like, now I have to figure out how to get 2 weeks off of work. Because I didn't have to leave. So I schmoozed my boss, and I managed to like finagle him into thinking like, yeah, if I go to this thing, I'll learn a bunch of stuff, and I can apply it back to the business, and we can help this company grow a bit more. And he's like, good idea. Yeah. Take time off. Like, yes. Went to the conference, learned a ton of stuff, came back, and then like 6 months later, I resigned. Basically. And started my first business, which was very unsuccessful, and then I had another one after that that did all right, and which was a meal delivery business based in Perth. Sold that to one of our suppliers. And then I was kind of like, well, what do I want to do? And I thought, what's the...
How old were you at this stage?
I was like 29.
So 29, you exited a company which was a mill...
We were making, I think we were pulling in about 700 grand a year revenue. So it wasn't a massive exit.
No, but it was still
it was all right.
29-year-old.
Yeah, it was all right. Yeah. It was all right. For like the first kind of foray, really successful foray to business.
For Perth, I mean 25-year-olds here that make $1 million a month. Like, that's just ridiculous.
Yeah.
But for Perth, like, small little Perth where there's not much opportunity.
And that we'd kind of capped our, like, demographic.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. You can't really ship across to Australia like you can in America. It's logistically, it's not a country set up for that. Yeah. So we were kind of like, okay, we kind of maxed out.
Yeah, well, it takes 5 days to drive to Sydney.
Yeah, people don't realize that. Yeah. So, like, why couldn't you expand to Melbourne? Oh, that's why. There's a big desert in between.
The size of America.
Yeah. So, that's kind of got out of that way. And I thought, well, what next? What's the most ridiculous thing I could think of? Because I just like, there's something in me that just likes proving people wrong and kind of being a contrarian. Mm-hmm. And the idea was like the idea of, the adult film industry had been thrown around to me a couple of times by some women I knew who were actually in it or had dabbled in it. I'm like, you know what? I'll give it a try.
Okay.
And I'm like, well, but I sort of decided that. I was like, well, okay, well, now I've decided to do it. How do I do it? I didn't really know how. Sure. There's not an instruction manual for that kind of thing. So I kind of reverse engineered my way into the scene. I was like, okay, the goal was like, I want to end up in LA, shooting in LA for big companies. How do I do that? And I basically systematically reverse engineered it back to where I was in Australia. And then I executed on that plan for like 2 years straight, and it worked perfectly. And the plan was really simple. It was just like, it came from a book actually called Trust Me, I'm Lying, Confessions of a Media Manipulator by Ryan Holiday, if you're familiar with that book at all.
No.
Very good book. So he was the head of PR and marketing for American Apparel and for a guy called Tucker Max. You might be familiar with him too. Anyway, his basic concept was, all you need to do is pitch a story. His book was about getting written about in newspapers and getting TV interviews and things. So the concept was, all you have to do is pitch a really, really small niche blog, your unique story from an anonymous email, not from the company. They're like, hey, I heard about this thing. It's really cool. Here's why it's cool. Kind of like write the article for them.
Okay.
And because small niche blogs are desperate for clicks and stories, and you just did the work for them, like, great, they end up writing about you. You take that little bit of social proof, and then you go to a slightly bigger blog, and you repeat the process, and you just work your way up the chain until you get on the Huffington Post or whatever.
Wow.
And so I applied the exact same strategy, but to filming for companies. So I would start with super small amateur studios in Melbourne, pitch them. There was only like 3 or 4 of them anyway.
Yeah.
But one of them took me. Cool. Use that to leverage to get work with the next one, and the next one, the next one. Eventually had worked for all the ones in Australia. Leverage that to work in England. Repeated the process in England. Leverage that to work in Europe. Repeated the process in Europe, and eventually repeated the process in America.
So what did you write about?
Well, wasn't about writing about getting in published in articles or whatever, but the first initial pitch to one of these guys in Melbourne was basically like, okay, I've been in because I'd also been in the swinger scene as a bull before, so I can perform in front of groups of people without with the pressure on and not having any problems. I actually went as far as to get a couple that I used to basically stup his missus in front of him.
Okay.
And I said, hey, would you guys be interested, if I blur your faces out, would you be cool with me filming like demo footage that I can use to then pitch one of these porno companies? So I did exactly that. I rented a hotel room and some cameras, stupped his missus.
In Perth?
This was in Perth, yeah.
Which hotel?
I can't remember.
Okay.
I cannot remember which hotel. They probably wouldn't like it if I told them anyway.
Crown?
It definitely wasn't Crown. I know that much. It wasn't Crown.
Yeah.
But
Hyatt probably
one of these ones.
East Perth.
So I think it was might have been near Scarborough or something.
I
think it might have been on the beach. It might have been on a beach or something. Yeah.
Michael Jackson stayed there. What was it called? Radisson? No, not Radisson.
I don't remember.
Rendezvous.
Might have been that.
Rendezvous.
Yeah,
Michael Jackson stayed there.
You might get me in trouble. But basically, yeah.
They should sponsor you.
Not anymore.
This room.
They won't like it.
This room is extra wide. Sterling Cooper.
Mate, I don't even. That footage doesn't really exist anymore. But it was just a little. I cut it up into little demo reels and sent it to this guy, and he replied back saying, "This is the most professional application we've ever received from a dude. I'll give you a shot." All I had to do was just stand out in some way, which is super easy in that position because every dude that emails the director is like just sending him a dick pic or something.
Yeah.
And I'm like, no. If I want to be taken seriously, I have to take this seriously. I have to take this professionally and approach it in a professional way.
Yeah.
So he said yes, nailed my first shoot, and then just leveraged that experience with slightly bigger studios. Yeah.
Got ya. And you just kept
working my way up the chain. Yeah.
Making your way out.
Yeah.
Until you made it to Hollywood.
Until I made it to, not the Silicon Valley.
Yeah.
That's what they call the San Fernando Valley in LA, where basically 90% of the world's porno is shot.
90% is
it's all shot in this.
Still to this day?
Yeah, it's all shot within like 12 blocks.
No.
Yeah. In the same 8 houses.
No.
Yeah.
Still to this day?
Yeah.
Wow.
It's all in this really, really small spot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Talk to me about your career in the porn industry. Do you look back on it and think, what do you think when you look back on it actually?
I can't deny the fact that I had a lot of fun with it.
Yeah.
I had a lot of fun. It was exciting because I'm traveling. Everything was so new and exciting. Like every time I got to work with a new studio in a new city, in a new country, obviously with new women and stuff, and some women that were quite famous and quite, in that industry, quite well known.
Yeah.
It was kind of, interesting getting to see, in a weird way, kind of meet like a minor celebrity, you could say, I guess, in that particular world.
Yeah.
Yeah, every time was a unique and interesting kind of experience. I learned a lot about my body. I learned a lot about the female body, and kind of how to biohack both of them. Yeah, it's a lot more professional than you would think. A lot more waiting around and paperwork than most people would think. So looking back on it, it's hard to I can't really regret it because it led me to the path I'm on now, where I can help a lot of guys, and I'm very happy with it. So it's this weird. It's just a weird dynamic for me now because it's I couldn't. If I said I regret it, well, that would mean that I wish my life had turned out differently, and I actually don't wish my life had turned out differently.
No regrets.
Yeah,
definitely no regrets.
It's like I said, I'd still admit that I've caused damage to people because it's a fucked up industry, and dudes get hooked on it and stuff. It's it would be like saying. It'd be like if I was in the tobacco industry and, I was a marketer in a tobacco industry and I'm making people consume lots of cigarettes, You'd have to not regret, but at least repent some way,
Yeah, but look, I mean, the act that you're doing is a normal act for a couple.
Yeah, completely. It's
right? So you're not doing anything illegal.
no, nobody's not doing anything illegal. Yeah, it's just weird. I'm in a weird phase in my life right now. I'm trying to like process it all, I guess you could say. So it's
I can sense that.
yeah. But it's okay. I'm happy with where I'm going.
Yeah.
So
yeah. So when you're in the porn industry, it's just a lot of waiting, a lot of paperwork.
Tons of waiting.
Really?
Like 80% of the day for the dude is just waiting around.
That's it.
I'm waiting for the makeup lady to finish the girl in the chair. I'm waiting we're doing all our paperwork, tax forms, consent forms. I'm waiting for half the day's waiting for the lights to be set up or like moved because we do all the dialogue stuff first before we do any of the fun stuff. So it's just a lot of camera changes, lighting changes, battery changes, setting up shots, going over dialogue. Yeah.
Has there ever been like in the middle of a scene and they're like, whoa, stop, we need to switch batteries, and you just
all the time.
gotta freeze
All the time.
and you basically gotta freeze.
You don't necessarily freeze. Depends how much chemistry there is between you and her.
Okay, you keep going.
If the chemistry's great, you're like, cool, and you two just keep having some fun.
Yeah.
If the chemistry isn't there, like, and you can kind of tell, then it's like, then you've got to like, then I have to stop and just like attend to myself before the camera goes back on again. Yeah. So some women that's the difference. There's the women in the industry. I kind of lump them into like 3 different categories. There's women who are genuinely like nymphos. And those are the girls that you have a great day with, and those are the girls who like, okay, camera switches off, we're still going. Wow. And then there's the girls who are like professionals.
Yeah.
And they'll probably like keep things going, but it's from like a position, like she's doing it because she knows that it helps me. She's not doing it necessarily from a place where she's like super into it.
Sure.
It's kind of hard to...
From a place of pleasure.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. The nympho is like doing it because she gets off on getting the guy off, you know?
Yeah.
And then there's a last third who are kind of like complete divas.
They're the worst.
They're very bratty. They're very entitled. I don't actually know much about Mariah Carey, but sure if you say so. They're the ones, who are like on their phone all day, very rude to the assistants, the lighting guys and stuff. They're late. They're like. Yeah, they're complete divas. Yeah,
it'd be hard to sleep with someone like that.
That's the hard part of the job. Yeah, that's the challenge. Yeah.
Just because you don't like them, you know, their attitude stinks.
Yeah, that's the thing. You don't like them because of the attitude, and that's the interesting thing about working in that industry is that all the girls I'm working with are objectively beautiful. I mean, like some dudes will come in and say, "Oh, she's ugly," or whatever, cool. But let's say 80% of the women I'm working with are objectively gorgeous.
Yeah.
So that doesn't really make much of a difference anymore.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
If I'm going to say, okay, you're beautiful, so was the last girl.
Yeah.
But she was really lovely. Yeah. And you're acting like a complete dickhead. So that's where the difference is.
Correct.
You know, so that one is, no matter how beautiful she is, her attitude is what's making it difficult.
Of course.
Yeah. And I think if most guys are honest with themselves, they can probably relate to that on some level. When it comes to like, if you're with a girl, whether she's your girlfriend, your wife, or just, you know, a fling or something, if her attitude stinks, do you really want to?
Exactly.
You know? Yeah. Or I'm kind of like petty, and I'm like, you know, out of spite, I don't want to give you the business now. Yeah. Just because you've annoyed me.
Yeah.
And I know that I can do it properly. I know I can do it good. And I know you'd enjoy it. Yeah. So I just don't want to do it now.
Yeah. Because for you, well, you know, like, there's men divorcing Victoria's Secret models all the time.
Yeah.
Right? It's because, you're beautiful, but that beauty doesn't go so far. Especially with girls in Dubai.
That's interesting.
When I go on dates with girls in Dubai, and they're like, but I'm pretty. And we'll have like an argument about something. It was like, why do you think you deserve that? You didn't.
Well, they literally say that.
I had a girl that messaged me after one date. By the way, we're driving home from the date, and we drove past Bentley, you know, the car brand. And we're driving, and I just look at her, and she goes like this, with the B in the middle, just looking through it. Super pretentious, right? Russian, beautiful girl. And she messaged me the next day, photo of business class. This is what I deserve. And I was like, what have you done to deserve this, right? And she goes, I'm pretty. And I was like, every girl's pretty in Dubai. Every girl's pretty. What else do you have to bring to the table? Everyone's pretty, right? It's the same thing with you. They're all pretty. Yeah. So it's the attitude and everything like that comes. You know, like I look back at girls that I used to date in Perth. Maybe they were less pretty than the girls in Miami or Dubai, whatever, but they were better quality women.
Yeah, completely.
They're oh, baby, I'll pay for rent this month. You're struggling? Yeah,
right. A girl ain't gonna do
Like,
that.
girls here would laugh at that.
Not a chance.
Laugh
Not
at
a
that.
chance. See you later.
They're never there for you like that.
I think that's pretty interesting that you can, if you as a man can get to the point where like sex no longer has power over you,
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
Because a guy who's, let's say, very easily controlled by beauty or very easily controlled by sex,
Yeah.
he's gonna buckle
Correct.
under that kind of pressure. And a guy like you or me is just like, no, jog on.
But they're looking for that.
Yeah.
They're looking for
For the guy they can trick and manipulate
Correct.
into that. Yeah.
What about STDs? How does the industry go around STD? Like the paperwork is, do they drug
Drug test.
Do they drug test?
They don't drug test.
Do they do the STD test or anything like that?
So every 2 weeks, it's mandatory to have a blood and urine test.
Sure.
So we have, at least in America, and now it's also in Europe too, actually.
Yeah.
They do a thing called the PASS system.
Yeah.
So all the performers are on a big database, and then all of the managers and directors, like talent managers and directors, they have access to the database.
Yeah.
The talent, we can't see other people's tests
Sure.
for anonymity, for privacy purposes. But basically, every 2 weeks, minimum, I have to get a blood and urine test, and that, the test for all the major STDs.
Okay.
If I come back all good, all clear, I'm clear to shoot.
Got it.
And same with all the talent do that basically. So everyone's testing at different times. So basically, everyone's constantly on this schedule of regular testing.
Sure.
So the instances of transmission of STDs in the industry is incredibly low.
So why is there condoms used then?
So that is a law that was passed ages ago. Not relatively ages ago, like probably 10 years ago now, I think, in California, which stated you are not, that they basically tried to pass this law that said you have to wear condoms in a porno. Now, here's the thing. There's only actually, most companies completely ignore that law because they don't know where they're filming.
I see.
If you don't know where they're filming, how you get, there's literally a guy whose job it is to be the condom inspector. No joke. There's a guy somewhere in a department in California, his job is condom inspector, and he's supposed to rock up to a set and look at everyone's wang and be like, are you wearing a rubber or not? And if not, here's a fine.
Yeah,
now, he can't do his job if he doesn't know where they're filming.
Yeah.
So 80-90% of the companies are constantly changing location every day.
Yeah.
So they don't know where they are. There's literally only a couple of studios that shoot from the exact same location every single time they shoot, and they broadcast it live. So they know, the condom inspector will know exactly where they are. So those guys, if you shoot for that company, you have to wear a condom. Now, the other exception is there's a couple of French companies, for some reason, and I think the reason is because they sell their movies to hotel chains on the X-rated channels. And it's some kind of French law or a European law that the guy has to be wearing a condom during filming. So if you're shooting for this particular French company, and they outsource all over the world, so you could be working in Europe or you could be working in America, but you're shooting for this French company, you will have to wrap up to shoot for them.
Got ya.
But everyone else, you don't have to. So it's this weird,
okay.
It's a weird thing.
Okay. Have you ever done a scene with a girl and the chemistry's been great, she's been in lympho, like you said, and then you guys have caught up outside of filming just to do it again?
Yeah,
privately?
all the time. Yeah.
Happens all the time.
Happens all the time, yeah.
Really?
Yeah, it's very, very common. Yeah.
Does relationships get sparked from that?
Yes,
Yeah.
quite often. Yeah, there's loads of performers will pretty much exclusively date other performers.
Got ya.
A lot of the time.
Got ya.
At least, especially the dudes in the industry, they'll tend to date female porn stars in the industry. The girls can probably 2/3 of them will date guys in the industry, or either a performer or a director or a PA or someone somehow connected to the industry, because they kind of understand the lay of the land.
Yeah.
Is that awkward conversation isn't really there.
Yeah.
If you kind of met them in the industry.
Yeah.
Then there's probably a third of the girls will have a partner who's what we call a civilian, who's outside the industry. And it's kind. I'm not trying to be a dick, but they kind of fit the stereotype that you would think they'd fit.
Yeah, exactly. I was thinking that.
Kind of chubby, nerdy, beardy.
Yeah.
A Comic-Con looking guy.
And are they usually on set watching while she's working?
No. They keep that very separate.
Have you ever had that?
Yes, actually. It was a brand new. So this girl was shooting her first ever scene, and she rocked up, and there was a dude carrying her suitcase, with all their clothes or whatever. And I thought, oh, this must be her like assistant or something.
Yeah.
Turns out is it like her boyfriend or whatever. And he sat in the corner watching the whole time.
Coming from, did that throw you off?
I was like, well, this is weird, but I'm a professional, so
I
can't do my job.
Hi, how are you? I'm good. What kind of tea do you want?
Green tea?
Do you have? Can I get one green tea, one English breakfast tea? What would you like, Shaq? One bottle of water. If you like this video, consider subscribing. We do weekly podcasts with experts in every industry to help you find direction and guide you on your way. Now let's get back into it. Thank you so much. Take care. See you next time. See you, bud. Take care. We always come here. The Noel's here now.
Oh, nice.
Okay, so
I was going to say, you sounded like you recognised it.
Yeah, I know. They love whenever we come here. They're like, "Who do you have today?" So there's a lady that's always there.
Nice.
At one stage, I read that you also got into escorting.
Yes.
What was that like? Because my biggest thought is, what do the women look like?
So the clientele was basically, there was 3 different types, right?
Yeah.
One was your wealthy middle-aged businesswoman.
Ginger Reinhardt.
Yeah. I mean, well, not to be honest. The ones that fit that profile, they weren't actually unattractive. For being like an older woman,
yeah,
they generally kept themselves in pretty good shape.
Okay.
And they were the women who, I mean, I had this one client. She was a deca millionaire Chinese lady who ran like a plastics manufacturing company back in China, but she lived in Sydney. And yeah, this is sort of the common theme amongst those women. She struggled with dating because she couldn't find a guy who would either not try to take her for a ride for her money, or she could relate to in any way, shape, or form because she's running a very, very powerful business. Or the guys who she was attracted to, who were she deemed on her level, were not really interested in dating her. They were going for like the 18-year-old secretary. So that left a lot of these women very, very lonely. And so I kind of filled that void, I guess you could say, that desire to feel beautiful again.
Yeah. That
was my role with them. Wining and dining, watching a dinner at a show, or whatever. Yeah. And then, retiring for the evening in the hotel room. But
So you're almost like a boyfriend.
Yeah, it was literally the boyfriend experience. Yeah. Completely the boyfriend experience. The other type of client was actually female escorts who just wanted a night off. And that blew me away. When I first started doing it, probably my second or my third client ever was like another female escort. I'm like, what the hell? I'm like, yeah, playing it cool. Yeah, but I'm like, and I rock up and this woman's gorgeous. Yeah. And I'm like, cool. Yeah. What do you want? She's like, she just want because they're doing the complete opposite their whole day, and they just want to take the evening off, relax, have an orgasm, and go to sleep. And I'm like, I'm your man. They want it to be about them. Correct. Right? Correct. When all day it's about the client. Exactly. Right? That's exactly right. Interesting. Yeah. And then the third type was very unique to Perth. And this because of the fly in, fly out, the FIFO culture. The third one was a dude who'd been on a mine site who had a missus back in Perth. He would spend a month away just jerking off to all kinds of extreme pornography, and he'd come back to Perth with his missus, and he'd want to make some kind of fantasy happen where he's like double teaming his wife, or he's sitting in the corner watching me bang his wife. Got ya. That was basically like all in Perth though. We got ya. Melbourne and Sydney didn't really have that. Yeah. And I think it's because they're more like banking and finance and stuff, and Perth is more mining. So Perth's got a lot of freaks. Yeah. Yeah. Well, isn't it like the orgy capital of Australia? I don't know about that, but they definitely have a big swinging scene in Perth. Yeah. That's what I heard. It's weird, and it's not a big city, but there's a lot of people getting freaky. Yeah, well, there's nothing else to do. Yeah, maybe that's it. Right, that's it. You either do drugs or you get swinging. Or you get freaky, yeah. I don't know what else. Or you go surfing in the morning. Yeah. Interesting. Yeah. Okay, so why did you move out of that? Did that make more money? What made more money, that or pornography? That made more money initially. Sure. And then when I transitioned into pornography, the pay drop went down quite significantly for the first 8 to 12 months, and then it eventually caught up. Sure. Just because of the volume of work I was doing. Yeah. Yeah. I sort of transitioned out of that because I was like, that was also how I knew I could do that job. Yeah. I knew if I could do that escorting stuff, I knew I could do the pornography stuff. Yeah. And it was it tested me, and I was like, under pressure, shall we say. But I also got to the point where I was like, I didn't like faking intimacy with these women, because it's kind of, you might say, oh, you're faking intimacy either way, but with the pornography stuff, the women know, we both know that this is fake.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And if there is something real, it is real.
Yeah.
Like if there's actual chemistry, it's real.
Yeah.
With the escorting stuff, it was like, I have to fake this for them to feel loved.
Yeah.
And yeah, I sort of...
Draining your battery.
Yeah, very emotionally draining.
Yeah.
Very emotionally
I can imagine that.
Yeah.
You have a partner now, a fiance.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
What does she think?
She knows about my background and stuff like that. Yeah.
This is fine.
Yeah.
Accepts it.
Yeah, she accepts it. She is grateful for how good I am in bed. That's for damn sure. So she's not complaining about that. You know.
Yeah. And it's a monogamous relationship.
Yeah.
Not open or anything like that. No. Because I find a lot of guys that have slept with a lot of women, they can't have a typical normal relationship because they've just dated so many women. They've been exposed to so many different things that they always kind of settle with, oh, I've got my girlfriend, I've got a wife, but I've also got my girlfriend. Or they go that way, or they go in the way of being single and not actually settling down.
Yeah. And I think I didn't make this woman my fiance for because we are because of the sexual compatibility. You know, like that's not the reason why we're in a relationship. Although that is there. Yeah. It's not the reason.
Sure.
Like the reason is all the green flags I saw on her was like, this woman will make an amazing mother.
Yeah.
That's why I'm with her.
Yeah.
And I think when a guy is in that situation, because I've been in that situation myself in previous relationships where it's like, it wasn't monogamous, I would sleep around, and it's like, why am I in this relationship really? Am I just in it for a little bit of companionship and then some regular sex? Because it's not, I think if you're kind of honest with yourself and you sit down, if you get into a relationship for the sexual compatibility, I think although that is important, it's not a long-term enough thing to base getting married or having kids with on. I don't think. Yeah. You know? So is the temptation there? Obviously the temptation's there. And she doesn't really she has said verbatim, if you didn't look at other women, I'd be concerned. Which is a very reasonable statement. Yeah. Because it means my sex drive still exists. Yeah. You know. So she kind of understands. She's probably a little bit autistic, to be honest, but she actually kind of understands the male perspective quite well. Yeah. And she consumes my content endlessly.
What do you mean consumes your content?
My podcast, my Instagram reels, all that kind of stuff. Okay. She consumes basically everything that I put out there. Yeah. So she understands me beyond the conversations we've had. So it's kind of interesting.
Because the conversation you're having with me is also you're having that with her because she's watching it. Yeah. Right? Completely. What's her name?
I'm not going to say that.
Oh, okay. I was going to say hi. Because she's going to be watching.
I try to keep this to that side of my life very private. Yeah. For obvious reasons.
Is she Aussie?
No. She's not Australian. Okay. No.
Good move. Thank you. Sorry, to all my Aussie women.
I ain't got a problem with Aussie women.
No, me too. I don't. They're great. Sex is such a big part of a relationship, but does it make a relationship?
I think it can. I think bad sex can break a relationship, right? I don't think, although, like I said, I think sex is a really strong foundation for a relationship to be successful. From obviously my own experience, but just from seeing not just my experience, but seeing other friends' experience, people who've both had very successful relationships and very unsuccessful ones, as well as the constant feedback I'm getting from clients, is bad sex will absolutely destroy a relationship. It's the thing that will probably destroy it above everything else. Now, is it important for a successful relationship? Yes, but there's a bunch of other factors I think that contribute to the point of having a long-term relationship. If the relationship is just based on sex, well, there's not much point in being exclusive to each other anyway. Yeah. You know, I've kind of got to the point where okay, well, if you're not, especially if you're around our age, I'm assuming we're around the same age.
I was born in 1990.
Yeah, we're close. Yeah.
What year were you born?
87.
87. So, yeah.
I didn't just insult you. It's good.
We're the same generation.
Yeah, exactly. That'll work.
We watch Fat Cat.
Yes, exactly. Yes, Fat Cat. Man, that takes me back.
She's TV.
Oh my God, I haven't heard of Fat Cat in so long. Goodness me. Good. Okay. Yeah. I think when you're kind of around our age, you should be dating with some kind of intent. Yeah. If you want to have kids, then you should be vetting and screening your women
Yeah.
for that purpose.
Yeah.
Like if you're just going out, like I have friends who do this, and I don't really adhere to this philosophy of like, oh, I'll date the prettiest woman I can find because she looks good on my arm and makes me look good. I know lots of guys who do that.
Yeah. It's for their own ego.
And it's completely for their own ego.
Yeah.
It's completely for their own ego. Now, not saying my fiance is quite attractive.
Yeah.
But that's not the purpose. Like it's not that is not like in the list of criteria, that is like down here. There's a whole bunch of stuff that came before that were the most important things for me in picking her. So
Got ya.
yeah. I think that can be a trap for a lot of guys.
Yeah.
And I don't want it to sound like I'm being bitter or like jaded or anything. I'm trying to be as objective as I possibly can because these are my friends I'm talking about.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and they're happy.
Yeah.
And they're completely happy.
Yeah.
But sometimes I'll see that piece of arm candy behaving in a somewhat disrespectful way.
And they just kind of put up with it.
Yeah.
I know. I've seen it.
Yeah, you've seen it.
Yeah.
Especially in a city like this, you've seen it.
Yeah. Of course.
Yeah.
Of course. And they just kind of put up with it. Okay, yeah, she's having one of her fits again.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Looks
She's doing this at the Bentley signing.
Ferrari this time. Looks fade.
Completely.
Looks fade.
Yeah.
Like you wouldn't care about your partner's looks anymore now because you know her soul.
Yeah.
You know her as a person, right? And that's what adds beauty to her, right? So looks fade. It doesn't really.
I have to be able to appreciate her
Yeah.
for all the different things she can bring to my life.
Mm-hmm.
Because like you said, the looks are going to fade eventually.
Yeah.
Eventually, it's like, okay, she's not, when she's like 40,
Yeah.
she's not going to make my pee-pee tingle as much as it did.
Yeah.
Obviously.
Yeah.
Right? So there has to be a whole bunch of other things that I can like ping off of to make me still appreciate her and love her.
Yeah.
You know?
Got ya. Yeah, caring, supportive.
Being a mother.
Yeah.
Like, all these things, you know? It's pretty big. If you can keep my genetics going in throughout history,
Yeah.
I will love you for it. Like,
Yeah. So we just went drive-through. You didn't order a coffee. You ordered a tea.
I do order tea, yeah.
How does coffee affect your penis? Does it affect
So
your
I actually
erection?
don't drink coffee.
Okay.
I do drink caffeine. I typically drink caffeine as tea or as pre-workout.
Okay. Does it affect the erection?
I personally have never. When I used to shoot, I never drank caffeine before a scene.
Okay.
Now I do know guys who would drink a coffee, like other male performers who would drink coffees before their scene.
Mhm.
I think that, but I know personally, and this is something I think everyone can. I think you'll know this about yourself if
Yeah.
you're a caffeine drinker. I personally am a lot more irritable when I'm drinking caffeine.
Uh-huh.
Like I'm more like on edge and I'm
Yeah.
high strung, which makes kind of sense because I'm jacked up
Yeah.
when I'm on caffeine versus not. So if I'm like high strung and like irritable, that's probably I know that is detrimental to my boner if I'm in a high pressure scenario.
Got ya.
So I would never drink it
Got ya.
for that exact reason. Other than like but that's more of a psychological thing, I think, than anything else. In terms of like just pure, blood flow and stuff, there's nothing that is doing this negative.
Nothing like that. Okay. What's your night routine?
It could do with a lot of improvement.
By the way,
I stare at my screen too much, that's for sure.
do you still have like a routine to get yourself ready to perform the next day, or now you're just retired?
Yeah, I don't really.
No.
The pressure isn't there to because there was a bunch of supplements I would take. There's a bunch like certain things I would eat, exercises I would do, whatever that I don't need to do as much anymore.
Sure.
Because I'm not performing. I don't have to perform for as long as higher pressure.
Yeah.
Like in as acrobatic a position.
Yeah.
It's kind of a relief though. I can now I can have sex the way I want to have sex.
Yeah.
Which is way more enjoyable.
Yeah.
And so the necessity to supplement a certain way and exercise a certain way isn't there anymore.
Sure.
I still try to stick to the relatively the same diet, which is healthy. Keeps me in shape. I'm a big fan of the paleo diet.
Yep.
I like consume copious amounts of meat, eggs, these kind of things. I like them. Try to get in the sun as much as I possibly can, get as much vitamin D as I can. I like to lift heavy, compound lifts. I like sprints. I like doing a little walking, these kind of things.
Yep.
But in terms of a night routine, basically like supplemental magnesium. Lately, I've started experimenting with a teaspoon of honey as well,
Okay.
which is apparently quite good for helping you to not wake up in the middle of the night.
Okay.
Which apparently, if you wake up in the middle of the night, it's a brain sugar thing. Apparently.
Okay.
So I'm experimenting with that. Seen good results with it so far.
Uh-huh.
But and if I have something good to read, I'll read a book. But
Okay.
Yeah.
Does your wife sometimes go? Does your fiance sometimes go? Look, just tonight, like let's just go. Put on a performance. Oh no, you're done.
No, we tend to be more of an afternoon delight
Okay.
scenario.
Okay.
Yeah, which I actually prefer.
Okay.
I genuinely because if I'm sleepy and tired, the last thing I want to do, like, it's kind of weird. The last thing I want to do is like exert myself again.
Yeah.
So I prefer to like, and she's happier when like I know that she needs to like have an orgasm at least every day, and it's like okay, my logical autistic mind, I'm like okay, if I just do it at like lunchtime, then she's good for the rest of the day, and she won't like bother me.
Yeah.
If I'm trying to work,
Yeah.
sort of a weird way of looking at it, but that's kind of my approach. Like okay, cool, after a bit of afternoon delight, cool. Now she goes to the gym or I'll go to the gym or whatever, and we can get on with our day without I feel like my husband duties are done.
Done.
Yeah.
So how do you make money now?
All through, basically I have a bunch of information products based around fixing any and every problem that guy could have in the bedroom. So I can fix guys who have premature ejaculation problems, erectile dysfunction problems. They suffer from maybe like anxiety and nerves in the bedroom. I teach them how to be better lovers, how to make their one orgasm consistently. I teach them how to tap into a woman's like sexual psychology through dirty talk and things like this.
Wow.
So I have info products based around all those things, and people find me through my YouTube, my Twitter, or whatever. They get on my email list, or they see my products, and that's how I make my money.
So basically, you sell courses that help men with any issue they might have sexually.
Yep.
Right.
Precisely.
And what do you think is the root cause of all this? Porn?
It's not the root cause of all of those problems. It is a big cause of porn, specifically a big cause of delayed ejaculation. That's a very common thing amongst younger guys now. It's a big It's a big cause of guys in general being unmotivated and lacking discipline and motivation.
Yeah,
it's a big contributing factor to that, and it can be a big contributing factor to erectile dysfunction, but primarily like psychologically induced erectile dysfunction.
Sure.
Because the way that works is, if you're a young 18-year-old guy, you shouldn't have a boner problem, right?
Yeah.
Your physiology is fine.
Yeah.
Like your blood flow is fine. There's nothing wrong with you. But if they're consuming excessive amounts of porn, well, it's screwing with the sensitivity of their dopamine receptors.
Sure.
Because you're just bombarding your brain with novelty again and again, right? So it's going to elicit less of a response, right? So when you're eventually in front of an actual woman, your brain is like, okay, seen this before. It's not as exciting, right? So they screw themselves over. Obviously I hear guys telling me this, but women tell me this so much. They're like, oh, this dude had this problem and he's young and he's fit. I don't know why. Is it me? What's wrong? Like the woman's freaking out about it. What she doesn't know is that the dude's just habitually consuming pornography. Yeah. And so he can't get it up around her. Yeah. It's crazy.
You know, as damaging porn is to males, I feel like toys are equally as damaging to women.
Good point.
Because the male penis isn't supposed to vibrate at 1600 megahertz.
It's not a jackhammer,
and have this other hand coming out and touching that and this and you know what I mean? It's a human like flesh. You know? It's not supposed to do that.
Yep. It's kind of like it's like the pot calling the kettle black. Anytime a woman mentions like, oh, dude should stop jerking at the porn. Cool. Hand in your vibrator.
Yeah. Because they're also desensitizing.
Very much so. Yeah. Especially the very, very high powered like vibrators, like Hitachis and things like that. Wow. If anyone's familiar with those, because I know I've worked alongside girls who use them a lot.
Sure.
They can't get off to anything else. Yeah. If they use those enough, eventually it's so desensitized they can't get off. It's like the female equivalent of what guys call like the death grip when they're jerking it. If their grip is too strong and tight, no vagina can replicate that. So they just can't achieve orgasm around a woman. Right? It's the same thing with women. If they have that super high powered Hitachi on their clit the whole time, just destroys the nerve endings. They can't really achieve an orgasm normally, naturally. So they have to kind of wean themselves back off of it again. Yeah.
Which is crazy because women orgasm in their mind, right? And still you can't even get there in your mind because you're so desensitized. Yeah. Right? But porn is equally as damaging. Where porn is going is concerning for me. Even now, if you look at what they're producing now, it's like mum got stuck finding something in a couch, and then the son comes up. So now you got a son raping his mum, incest and rape.
Right. That's not a new trend. That's been around for at least a decade. That trend. So I know a girl, Elizabeth Spriggins is her name, but she does a podcast now. She used to be a porn star. Used to be called Laura Jensen. I was talking with her last year, and she was saying that she's out of the industry now, and she's kind of in a situation where I am, where she talks about the problems with it.
Yeah.
And she got to this point where she was actually one of the first ever women to do this sort of MILF porn, where it's like or incest porn, like you would say, like it's a stepmom and her stepson. She was one of the first ones to ever do it. And she reflected back on that, and she was like, yeah, I don't like where this is going. I don't like what I've done with this. I don't like this trend. And she got to the point later on in her career where she was like, she didn't want to keep shooting that anymore, right? But she'd been typecast as like the MILF. And so her agent was like, well, I can't get you work doing that anymore. There's nothing, no one else will shoot you for anything else. It's either that or you do like hardcore BDSM stuff.
Yeah.
And she did like one scene like that, and she was like, nope. And she bounced out.
If you like this video, consider subscribing. We do weekly podcasts with experts in every industry to help you find direction and guide you on your way. Now let's get back into it. How has being in the porn industry affected your mental health?
You know what? I actually think it made me a lot more resilient.
Okay.
And I'll explain what I mean. So when you kind of get, as a dude in the industry, you kind of get treated like cattle.
Yeah, okay.
Because you're not the girl's the star of the show. She's the one that everyone's paying for. She's the reason we're all getting paid. So everyone has to kiss her ass and treat her like a princess and look after her. You, on the other hand, this isn't with all directors, but some directors will treat you like a piece of shit.
Mm.
So you have to kind of, especially as a new guy, you have to kind of get used to putting your foot down. And like setting your boundaries and making sure people respect your boundaries. Because if a director, say for example, tells you to get in this retarded position that is super uncomfortable, and you know yourself like you aren't going to be able to perform because it's like whatever, your ability, or if he wants you guys to do a certain sex act or say something, and it goes against you, like it's on your kind of no list, right? Your ability to put your foot down is very important. Because one, otherwise that no one on set will respect you, and you'll push her around, and two, it allows you to give a better performance and do your job better. Yeah. So I'm doing it selfishly, but I'm also doing it for the director. I'm like, look, here's what we're going to do instead, because that ain't going to work. We're going to do it this way, so I can give you the performance you want. Like, so it actually taught me to respect my own boundaries, put my foot down a lot more, and assert my boundaries a lot more. Yeah. In a weird way. Yeah. A lot of people I will say a lot of women will get in the industry and they'll come out a bit damaged. Or they'll get into it for the wrong reasons in the first place, so they were probably already not really in a great place. And I'm not trying to judge anyone or stereotype anyone. I'm just trying to be honest about the patterns I've seen here. But I don't see that with the dudes so much. Like the guys I know who are in the industry, they all seem pretty well adjusted. Okay. Like it doesn't really take a toll. Yeah, so to speak.
Mentally it doesn't take a toll.
Yeah. And I think that says a lot about like the nature of sex as it relates to male psychology and female psychology, and the differences there. Yeah. People will say all the time that like for men sex is very much a physical thing, it's not an emotional thing. For women it's more of an emotional thing. Correct. Yeah. And I think that reflects that.
Has being in the porn industry affected your relationship? Has that impacted your relationship?
Not really, actually. And I was quite surprised at that. Okay. Yeah. Because I retired in like 2020. Yeah. And since then all the relationships I've had, it has never been a problem. Okay. Like my past has never been a thing that they've had any concerns about. It's never created like jealousy. Nothing. There's never been any, they've all just kind of accepted it and like, but probably because they see like they're getting the benefit of that experience. Yeah. Yeah. So they're like, cool. Like they don't. They can't really have a problem with it. Yeah. If they're getting dicked down properly. Yeah. So women are funny like that. If you please them, like no one else has pleased them before, they will negotiate on everything. Oh, completely.
You can have another girlfriend, 2 girlfriends, whatever.
Doesn't matter.
Sure.
Yeah. All this stuff goes out. All these principles go out the window.
I hate it, but sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now I will say that their parents, if they knew about the relationship, or they didn't tell their parents because it would have been a very, very awkward conversation. Yep. That's definitely been the case. That has happened. None of those relationships ended up going to where this one has, obviously. Okay. So I've met my fiance's parents. Yeah. I've met her siblings.
Yeah. And they know?
Hell no.
And they're cool with it.
They're going to be cool with it. The dad wasn't, but
The dad wasn't.
he likes me now.
Yeah.
So it's weird.
Yeah, it's the charm. It's
I,
the Aussie charm.
I am a pretty charming guy. I'll
It's
give you
the
that.
Aussie
But I'm also a stubborn guy, and it's kind of. So I had this the conversation I had with her father. The guy, like, we sat down. The guy wanted to kill me. I swear to God.
No.
And so it was the three. Like, it was me, her, and him
Okay.
sitting having dinner. And the moment she, like, the whole time he's sitting there, like, kind of like literally like twitching like this as he's talking to me. I'm like, oh, this guy wants to kill me.
Damn.
And it was funny that like I'm slowly sort of making my case. And his whole thing was he didn't think it was serious. He thought I was like trying to take advantage of the daughter, like play his daughter and not commit to her or whatever. Which wasn't the case. And I'm like, my first thought was, well, I wouldn't be sitting here in front of you if that was a fucking fucking plan. I'm not a dumbass.
Sure.
Well, I would have put myself through this if I wasn't going to commit to your daughter.
Yeah.
But she got up and went to the bathroom. And the moment she got out, she left the room. He leaned across. He's like, "Look, if you weren't dating my daughter, you and me would get along great. But I don't trust you." And I'm like, you know what? I can respect that a lot. I can respect that. Because I wouldn't respect you if you didn't have these concerns for your daughter. Because if I was in your position, I would. Cool. We can start here. And I'm a really stubborn guy. So when he said at the end of that, he said, "I'm afraid that this won't go very far. I'm afraid this isn't gonna last." I looked at him. I was like, "Oh, I'm a stubborn prick. I'm gonna prove you wrong." I love proving people wrong.
Yeah.
More than anything
I can
else.
sense that.
I love proving people
I can sense that. So now you get along. Now you're best buds.
I wouldn't say we're best buds, but
Okay.
he's coming around. It's better than it was.
How long have you guys been together for?
Only like what would have been like October, November.
Okay.
Yeah, so not that long.
And you're already engaged. When you know, you know.
I know what I want.
When you know, you know.
Yeah. She kept ticking green flags. I was like, oh.
Yeah.
The more I kind of probed, the more I found out about her.
Yeah.
And I'm not an idiot. I'm kind of like testing and looking for things.
Yeah.
So not setting traps is the thought that came to my mind, but it's not really setting traps. I would open up lines of conversation that would give her an opportunity to incriminate herself.
Yes, exactly. I know exactly what you're talking about. I know exactly.
Give them an inch and they'll take a mile.
Exactly.
Give them the rope to hang themselves. These kind of turns of phrase is what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And she never did.
Yeah.
If she didn't incriminate herself, if anything, she made herself look. She just kept showing me green flags.
Yeah.
Like, that is very interesting. Okay.
Yeah. I know exactly. Have you had any experience dating in Dubai?
Yeah, a little actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I set traps in Dubai for girls because in Dubai, girls are all looking for sugar daddies, right? So like we'll go to the movies and stuff. Obviously, like I'll pay for everything, but she'll go to like a Do or Etisalat to pay her phone bill, and I just let her pay her phone bill. It's not my phone. It's not my bill. It's your bill, right? And then I just see how she reacts to it. Yeah. And it's more of a test. And then I'll in this particular scenario. I got a message saying, "Oh, I don't think we're suitable for each other. You didn't want to pay for my phone bill." I'm like, "Pay for everything else." But that's for her. She thinks she trapped me, but for me, I was like, "No. I actually trapped you. I knew.
Yeah.
I wanted to see how you're going to react to it." So same thing with yours.
Yeah.
Right? You set these kind of not traps but tests.
Yeah.
To see if they pass.
Yeah. You gotta be aware of all the different ways that women can subtly try to manipulate you.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that unfortunately that does take experience. That comes with a bit of age, I think.
Yeah, of course.
But once you know what you're looking for, it's very easy to spot it.
Yeah.
And because women are used to being able to manipulate most men.
Mm-hmm.
And then when they finally come across a guy that they can't do it to, the power dynamic can flip quite easily.
Yeah. You know those honey satchels that they have and it apparently gives you a boner?
Oh, I've heard, that's a very popular thing here. Yeah.
Well, yeah.
They have like Viagra in them.
They have Viagra in them.
Yeah.
So they're not.
It's not like there's no honey that magically gives you a boner. They put like a chemical in it.
But don't you need to have a prescription to buy Viagra? So how do they just put a Viagra honey?
It's probably an off-brand version.
Okay.
Or it's or maybe it's Cialis, or it's like a low enough dose they don't have to like.
I see what
register
you mean.
it. Yeah.
I see what you mean.
Like I know the things you're talking about.
Yeah.
They 100% have a pharmaceutical compound in them.
Really?
Yeah, it's not just natural honey. They've added something to it.
Because I always wondered, what do you guys mean honey? And I was thinking, what about my honey at home?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I was asking the same question when I first came here and people were talking about it. I'm like, what are you talking about? And I eventually found out and I'm like, oh, it's just Viagra in honey.
Yeah.
It's like, miracle drug, yeah.
That's it. Okay, so well, listen, I'm so glad that you're from Australia because I'm so glad we can kind of wear you on our chest and say that's our guy because you've
Some don't like to wear me on the chest.
no
I can be a bit of a polarizing guy.
no, but you're a figure, right? You're a figure, and people know you.
I got recognised when I was in Sydney.
No way.
Yeah, when I was in Sydney for New Year's last year.
Okay.
I'm walking around like what's it called? Where the rocks.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I was getting recognised by a bunch of people. Yeah.
What about here? You get recognised here.
I've been recognised in the airport here.
Yeah.
It's not really a walking place.
No,
you know, like it's not really a walkable city.
Yeah.
Same like Marbella, I get recognised a fair bit. London, I'll get recognised. Ireland, I get recognised.
And do they recognise you through Tate?
Sometimes, but a lot of the time,
Or your work?
a lot of the time, nobody recognises me from porn.
Because nobody watches the guy.
Nobody, bingo. And I'm filmed from the nipple down, so they couldn't recognise me unless my pants were off.
Yeah.
Right. So
I've seen that.
they recognise
Why
me.
does that look familiar?
Wait a minute.
Yeah. I know that mole.
Exactly. That little brown spot. Where am I seeing that? Oh.
Yeah.
They recognise me from like an Instagram reel or a TikTok or something that's been on their feed because that I'll get a lot of. I'll get a lot of guys be like, do I know you from TikTok or do I know you from Instagram?
Yeah.
Like,
got ya.
That's where I get a lot of it.
Got ya. Yeah. How did you meet the Tates?
I meet them. Me and Tristan connected on Twitter.
Yeah.
Years ago, and that was through. We were actually having like a disagreement. Actually, he mentioned something about the porn industry in Eastern Europe, and I chimed in and said, "Well, actually, I've shot in Eastern Europe with girls, and I actually disagree with you about this, and this." It was a very cordial kind of back and forth.
Yeah.
Then we started chatting in the DMs, and I invited him onto my YouTube channel. I interviewed him, and we hit it off really well.
Yeah.
And then probably 4 months after that, him and his brother were doing an event in Vegas, and I was living in LA at that time, and they invited me out to come out and meet them.
Yep.
So I drove out to Vegas and met them, and I met that same night. I met Andrew, I met Tristan, I also met Justin Waller.
Oh yeah.
All the whole bunch of them at the same time.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then later we hung out a bunch of times that year. Drove around Romania that summer. Went to Ukraine together. Came out here together. Yeah, so did a bunch of stuff with them. So yeah, they're still unfortunately locked up, and not locked up. They're still technically on house arrest and stuff. It's actually Tristan's birthday today as we're talking.
Yeah. No, but they can travel around Europe now.
Kind of.
That's
still
got ya.
Yeah. Everything. Unfortunately, their cases, consistently being dragged down again and again and again and again. So like I think you can't quote me on this because I'm not really an expert on the whole Romanian legal system and exactly how it works. But from my understanding, it's like every time that they win an appeal, it has to be from one judge that another judge has to like confirm it or something like that. So like every win is like, okay, cool, but we have to wait until the next one kind of approves it.
But I think also the prosecutor has appealed that decision for them to be able to travel around Europe as well. Right. So I think it's just...
Hopefully, I think hopefully, fingers crossed, that it's all good.
Yeah, have you been, since they've been locked up?
I have not been to Romania.
You've been to Romania, no. Do you like Romania?
Beautiful.
Yeah, gorgeous, huh?
I had a Romanian girlfriend for a little bit.
No way.
Yeah, they're beautiful. Romanian girls are gorgeous.
Really?
Yeah, they're gorgeous.
I've seen Romanian girls here.
You get a lot of them here, You'll get a lot of Romanians, Russians, Ukrainians here.
Yeah. They're gorgeous girls.
Yeah.
Let me
apparently this is from what the Tates are. Moldovan women are the most beautiful on the planet.
Is that what they said?
Yeah, because they're a mix between like Ukrainians and Romanians.
There's a pay gap, but it's like the opposite.
Correct,
it's like the women get paid more in porn than men do.
About twice as much.
Wow.
Yeah, like averaged, across like the top earners and the bottom earners.
Yeah,
you're probably looking at like twice as much.
Yeah. Crazy.
Yeah,
you're doing all the work.
Yeah, the analogy I always like to use is like imagine like a Ferrari, right?
Yeah,
you got the beautiful chassis.
Yeah,
the leather interior.
Like, yeah.
That's the woman. The man is the engine that's under the hood.
I see.
He's what makes it go.
Got ya.
Right?
Yeah.
She's the thing that catches your eye.
Yeah.
Mm.
How is your Ferrari?
Beautiful, man.
You love it?
I love it, mate. I love it.
You love it?
I love it. I hate leaving it.
Really?
I've learned every single mountain road within 30 minutes of my house in Marbella now. Wow. I know all the roads where I can drive, thrash that thing. It's great.
It's a gorgeous car.
Mate,
it's a beautiful car.
I love it so much. And I've done one track day with it.
Yeah.
At a circuit called Guadix with an F1 instructor. And I'm going to go, when I go back in August-ish, I'll probably do another one.
Yeah. Gorgeous car. You did it with Luke. I was watching on Instagram.
Oh yeah, yeah. We took it. We went on a car rally together. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that was sick.
Yeah, it was my job to find like sick driving roads, and so we went through Italy, from the north of Italy, like Turin, through Switzerland and into Austria. I found us a couple of really nice mountain passes, and we were so lucky. They just opened up 2 days before. Yeah, they got cleared all the snow and everything, so there was no snow and no traffic, and it's just like hairpins all day.
What did Luke have? A Lambo?
He had a Ferrari Portofino. Okay, and our other friends had a Lamborghini Huracan. Yeah, I saw a Lambo there. I thought, damn. There's so much. That's the thing.
Speaking of Ferrari,
hello.
Look at that. What is that one? Oh, that's old. That's like a 2012, isn't it?
That might be the model just before mine.
Yeah.
It's not a Spider.
Gorgeous cars.
Like, gorgeous. I think the Portofino blew me away with the like roof mechanism. Yeah. The way it does the convertible action. Yeah. It's all hardtop, right? But the Portofino, like the whole boot, the trunk, like comes up. Yeah. It's madness, and then the roof retracts, and then it comes. It's so the engineering on it is incredible. It blows me away.
Yeah. So you're gonna leave that in Mumbai?
Yeah, I keep it. I store it at like a car club there. Okay. And they look after it. They take spin the wheels, keep it safe and stuff. Yeah. Yes. It's all insured and stuff, but it's just a perfect car for driving around Europe. I've already added like 15,000 kilometers on the thing. I've driven it to and from Italy twice, from Spain.
That's how it should be, though.
Exactly.
That's how it should be. It should be there collecting dust.
What's the point in keeping it in the garage?
Yeah, correct. So, are you going to fly it to America, or are you just
maybe I need to look into like the legality of doing that. I'm pretty sure it's doable. It's the same side of the car. Like,
it's not like a spur.
Yeah, exactly. So it shouldn't be too difficult. Whether it's an emissions thing, I don't know. Usually Europeans are more stringent with emissions and stuff than Americans are. So it should be fun. Yeah. Yeah. If I decide to move it full time over to America. I've already been scouting like good driving roads in America. Yeah. There's one apparently I want to do. It's called the Tail of the Dragon, and it's like between the border of Tennessee and North Carolina, and it's hairpins. Perfect. That's beautiful, mate.
Perfect. When you're crossing into Italy from France, there's a beautiful road to drive there. It's like hairpin. Go up a mountain, down a mountain. Gorgeous road. But in Dubai, it's so hard to drive.
There's not much. Jebel Jais. I've driven Jebel Jais. Yeah. That's a nice road. Yeah. Problem is lots of rocks. Yeah. So you're gonna cause some damage if you have a bit of fun.
Yeah. Who's the best porn star, you think?
Probably.
What about that Ron guy? Ron?
Oh, Ron Jeremy.
Yeah, Ron Jeremy.
I've met Ron Jeremy.
You've met him?
He's got dementia, actually.
Oh.
Yeah.
From Cialis or what?
I don't think it's from Cialis. No, I don't think that does that.
Okay. Well, we don't know. The man is taken.
So it's a funny story when I met her. So I'll tell you the story about.
Does he have a robo-dick?
He does not. You know what the robo-dick is? Yeah. You're familiar with the robo-dick?
Yeah. I've done my research. I'm a professional.
Bro, the robo-dick is scary.
Yeah. We'll talk about that. I'll ask
we can talk about it. Yeah, well, I'd love to talk about that. Yeah. So when I met Ron, I was it was me, Ron, and like three female porn stars. And this company was hiring us to sit down and do kind of like a roundtable discussion, led by Ron, was supposed to be the MC, and it was filming for some kind of an info product, an educational product actually. Okay. And Ron was supposed to MC it, so we had this like clipboard with the questions you were supposed to ask. And the cameras are all set up. We're all sitting there chit chatting or whatever. Ron's sitting there. Cameraman's ready to go. He's like, "Okay, Ron, you ready?" And Ron he's been sitting there the whole time, clipboard in his hand, like just like that. Like, eyes open, mouth agape. Just like that. He's like, Ron. Like, the guy was asleep with his eyes open. I shit you not. Wow. I'm like, no, I just couldn't contain myself. I just burst into cackling laughter. Like, oh my God. And he got into like the conversation or whatever, and then halfway through, he just went like off the rails, like completely off track with the conversation. Yeah. At multiple points. Yeah. And then we break for lunch, and I'm sitting there talking to him, one-on-one, and he cracks. He makes some joke. He used to do like a comedy tour. Yeah. So he cracks a joke because it was obviously like one of his stage jokes. Mm-hmm. Well, by 2 minutes later, we're talking again, and then he cracks the exact same joke again. And I'm like, wait a minute. And my grandmother actually died of dementia. Okay. And I'm like, I know what this is. Yeah. I know exactly what's going on here. So I walked away and talked to the directors or whatever. I'm like, are you guys aware that Ron has dementia? And they're like, Oh yeah, like we worked with him last year, and he's a totally different. It's progressed like tenfold in the space of a year. It's
What year
ridiculous.
was this?
That was probably 2019.
So he's
Yeah.
much worse now.
Oh, and I think and recently after that he was involved in like a court case where he was accused of sexual assault.
I seen that.
He apparently was going around. He would be going into bars and stuff and sexually assaulting women, harassing women and stuff. And that kind of behavior is very common with dementia, Alzheimer's, with men with dementia and Alzheimer's. They become sexually aggressive. Very, very much. Very common. So all of that is related. I'm convinced of it. Yeah, so it's kind of a tragic situation. He was that just to see a guy in that kind of
such a god in the industry.
To see a guy in that scenario is like, oh my god.
Yeah.
They say he actually got really he actually used to be really thin and fit, and then he got because I nerd out on I when I got into the industry I was nerding out on as much research as I could possibly can. I was like learning about all the guys who've been in this industry for forever, so I could learn something from him. And he was super thin when he first started. Then he started to let himself go, and he actually found he got more work, and became more popular because he became more relatable. The fatter he got, and so he stuck with being the big fat guy.
Got ya. Talk to me about the robo-dick.
So the robo-dick, for people who aren't aware what the robo-dick is.
Yeah.
So the robo-dick is a surgery that guys get where they basically like put an implant in your penile shaft, and like an inflatable implant, basically.
So they basically drain all the tissue.
I'm not 100. I think they have to take out certain tissue in your shaft to put it in, and then it's this inflatable device which has like a pump basically, so you activate. I think they either put the pump in your hip or in your ball sack or something, and then you press it, and then like it inflates your penis like an erection, and it will stay there and will not go down until you press the button to make it go down.
But that's cheating.
Completely cheating. But the thing, so when guys get that, so that's like stage 3. So actually I'd say that's stage 4. Stage 1 is like they do things naturally.
Yeah.
Stage 2 is they'll take stuff like Viagra, Cialis, but they'll take it like all the time, super habitually, and eventually that will stop working because it's a drug like anything else. Your body develops a resistance to it, right? It's just like like antibiotics and stuff, right? The next stage, the third stage, is the terrifying one, which is a thing called Caveject, which is a needle that they have to. It's a fluid in a syringe. You have to inject that into your penis, and it's that liquid. It goes into your what's it called, the corpuscula cavernosa, like the spongy tissue.
Okay.
And it forces like a 2-3 hour erection. Wow. Like it won't go down.
Wow.
Dudes have taken that and ended up in the hospital.
Because it won't go down.
They end up with what's called a priapism, which is where your dick doesn't go down, and they have to put a catheter in your dick and drain your dick of blood and stuff. Horrendous. But guys will start doing it. The Viagra stops working, they'll start doing the Caveject. Eventually, that stops working. So even they'll inject their dick and it doesn't do jacket. It doesn't do anything.
There's nothing.
That's when they resort to the robo-dick because nothing else is working, and that takes several years to get to that point, right?
Of course.
So think about it, like, okay, well, if you've been in that industry long enough to get to that point, you're probably all in. You probably don't have anything else to do.
Yeah.
You haven't got any other career path than this, and your paycheck depends on it. So what are they going to do? They resort to the robo-dick, and they end up turning into the bionic man.
Does that have a feeling still, or is it? Does it?
Well, I don't know. The dudes are able to orgasm, so there must be some sensation still.
So you can still have kids.
Yeah, they could still have kids.
You still have kids.
Yeah. It doesn't affect like the semen production or the testicles, right?
When you're at the porn equivalent of Oscars, and let's say the guy that wins
has a robo dick.
Isn't that like come on? Yeah. Isn't that like come on? Like
and unfortunately, it does actually happen.
Yeah,
that legit happens.
I'd imagine it would happen. I'd imagine like, but he's cheating.
I mean, all the other guys are like. Yeah, I mean, you can't compete. It's a competition, man. You're like, okay, well, cool. I can't really compete against it.
But he can, I guess, say, well, you can go get a robo dick.
But there are guys who don't. There are guys who win awards who don't have that.
Yeah. So of course. Yeah. Have you been to the awards?
Yeah. I used to go. I went to the AVNs. A few years I was in hanging out in LA. So they're interesting. Yeah.
What do you think of LA?
LA's a shithole.
Okay.
LA's an absolute shithole. I think it's.
Nah.
Ugh. It's just everything I hate.
Disgusting.
Everything I hate. I'm so glad I don't live there. Like, I just, you ever have like, you ever think about like a place you used to be, like a shitty job you used to work?
Yeah.
Do you ever wake up in the middle of the night in cold sweats thinking you're still there?
Hungry Jacks.
That's kind of what I think. Like, if ever I think about living there, I'm like,
oh, thank God,
I'm not there.
It's like that.
It's like that.
Yeah.
That kind of a shithole.
Yeah. My dad actually says he wakes up in cold sweats thinking he's still married to my mum. He's divorced there.
That's rough.
10 years. And he's like, oh, thank God I'm not married to her anymore.
That's quite rough.
Okay, so could you live in Dubai?
No. There's not enough nature here.
That's what it is. So it's got no similarities to LA.
True.
It's more than nature.
True. Yeah.
It's more than nature.
I'm a nature guy. I like trees and greens. I love hiking.
Yep.
I'm actually not a beach guy, ironically enough. Coming from like Perth.
Yeah.
And living in Marbella.
Yeah.
And then LA and Miami.
Yeah.
I've lived in nothing but beach towns, but I'm not a beach guy at all.
You're a pool guy?
I grew up with a pool and I never went in it.
Okay.
I hated it.
So you like hiking?
Love hiking.
Love hiking.
Yeah. Hiking, mountain bike riding, love it.
Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah. But we got sharks as well in Perth. So.
Yeah. There's a bit of that.
Yeah.
I think for me, it was because I was forced. Did you have this as a kid? Like, they force you to do swimming lessons as a kid?
Of course, you have to.
Exactly, right? I think that's a uniquely Australian thing.
It's an Australian thing. Because we all have pools.
Yeah. And I had a pool, and it was like the weekend, I want to sleep, have fun, and it's like waking up at like 6, go and have to jump in a cold pool. I'm like, fuck you.
Yeah.
And I just developed this resentment around swimming.
Yeah.
So I never enjoyed it.
Yeah.
I've been surfing like once.
Surfing's tough.
It is tough.
Surfing is tough.
It's tough. It is a very talented sport.
Yeah.
I'll give it that. Yeah. I just have no interest in the ocean.
In that, yeah. I mean, I was stand-up paddleboarding once in Perth and I saw a shark and I sold it. So I was like, no more. But it's funny, wherever I go in the world, even Dubai, I was in Thailand like last week and I get in the water and I always go, do you guys have sharks here? And everyone's like laughing, no, we don't have sharks. But like, you guys don't understand, I'm from Perth. Like, we have sharks everywhere. Like, I think like 70% of the world's shark attacks happen in WA.
Yeah.
Something crazy.
It's like, at least every year there's a shark.
Oh, yeah. Well, there was one, I can't tell you how many shark attacks there have been, and I've been like on the boat the next day or something like that. Girl died recently.
Yeah.
About a year ago. Young girl. But yeah, it's...
No joke, I took my fiance to Perth.
Yeah.
I was like, I want to show her Cottesloe Beach. I'll take her to Cottesloe Beach.
Yeah, okay.
We get out of the car, we walked in, the moment we step onto the sand, sirens blaring, everyone out of the water, helicopter, shark in the water.
Shark in the water. Yeah.
You couldn't have scripted it better. It's incredible.
That's where we're from. If somebody's watching this and they're suffering from porn addiction, what's the first step?
That's a good question. I mean, what they say, the first step is admitting you have a problem, right?
Okay,
you need to admit you have a problem with it, right?
Admit that.
So I would say the first step is to identify your triggers. Mm-hmm. This is actually pretty practical advice for any habit you want to change, really, right? Whether it be porn use, shitty eating habits, right? Using your phone too much, alcohol, whatever.
Yeah.
What's the trigger that makes you start the habit?
Yeah.
Is it your... Because a lot of dudes will do this. Is it you're tired and you can't sleep and you're jerking off so you can get to sleep easier? Is it like you were scrolling Instagram and you saw some big titty blonde and now you're horny and you jerk off? Like, what is the trigger that is causing the habit to start? Okay, if you can figure out what the trigger is, well, then you can systematically work to try and get rid of the trigger to begin with. So that's a very great place to start. Also, like I said before, habitual porn use is a very dopamine-related issue. And there's lots of habits you have which will make your dopamine sensitivity quite low. So things like excess consumption of sugar, things like habitual alcohol consumption, things like incessant scrolling on social media. These are all related to, these are all a very similar problem to habitual porn use. So it's actually a very useful strategy to try and tackle these problems simultaneously. Because it's okay if you let's say you kick the porn habit, but it's going to be hard for you to stick to it long term if you're still pounding sugar every day, if you're still incessantly scrolling TikTok every day, because your brain is still fried. So if you can you know if you recognize the trigger, you know, and you recognize the fact that all these problems are kind of linked, you can start to rewire your brain a bit. Yeah.
So it's all kind of interconnected.
Very much so. Yeah.
We live in such a world of constant stimulation.
Correct. Yeah.
You know
The
what I mean?
delayed gratification is missing from a lot of men's lives.
Yeah.
So if you can cultivate that, you will find a lot of things in your life will massively improve.
Yeah.
With a little bit of patience.
you think about 500 years ago, we were just watching the sun go up and then go down.
Yeah.
Now it's like TikTok, constant.
Yeah, artificial light all the time.
Yeah.
I see a lot of people are wearing blue light blockers these days.
Yeah.
Like the glasses, or they're putting a screen on their phone or on their computer to block out the blue light, which can screw with your circadian rhythm.
When you were when you were active in the porn industry, did you ever use infrared light on your balls or anything?
I know what you're talking about. I've dabbled with that. Yeah. It does work.
It does work.
100% works. Yeah.
Wow.
It has a lot of positive benefits.
Really?
Yeah. Good. Not just for like testosterone and things like that, but it's also for like muscle repair, inflammation. There's a host of really positive benefits to red light therapy. Yeah. Would recommend that.
Yeah. I've seen like people just. I've seen people on the internet talk about it. They basically wake up, have a coffee, and they just turn it on.
Yep. Yeah, I've got one at home. It's like about this tall.
Yeah.
And it's just like an array of red lights. I think it's called a jewel, I think.
Okay.
Yeah. You just flick it on, put some glasses on, and you just
that's it.
Bake in front of it for 10 minutes.
So you came to Dubai to set up your stuff here.
Yeah, I was considering moving here, honestly, when I first came out here. And then I got a feel for everything. I sort of came to the lack of nature was a big factor for me, and I kind of came to the conclusion like, it's not quite the place for me.
But I mean, you're doing great. I mean, for you to be like, I like my bay, I might live here. Not a lot of people can do that.
No,
right?
No.
So you're doing great. You're making money online.
I'm very blessed to have the freedom of choice that I have.
Yeah. And it's that risk that you took of leaving your 9 to 5 with your pay rise of 5,000.
Yeah, that was a bit shit.
What do your parents think?
Well, you know what? I'll add something to that. Yeah. And before I went into like the adult film industry, right? Before I had the after that, the business I did immediately after realizing that having that penny drop of like, I'm only going to make $5,000 extra this year. Yeah. After working a whole year. Yeah. The business I made after that, which was like a meal delivery business, right? When I started that, I had a friend at the time who worked for the government, and a cushy government job. Yeah. And he was like, "Oh man, I wish because I started the business, and then it was within a year it was quite successful." He was like, "Man, I wish I had the balls to take the risk you took." And I thought about that, and I was like, "Where's the risk? Either I succeed, right? Great, I'm exactly where I wanted to be, fantastic, or this business fails." I haven't wasted that time. I've just learnt a bunch of lessons that I'll apply to the next business. Exactly. And I haven't wasted a year stuck in this deadbeat career.
Exactly.
So I don't see a loss here.
Yeah. You never lose. You either win or you learn. Yeah. Right? So then you take the next thing. If I make a mistake, my dad's like, "Oh, don't do it again." Like, no, don't. No, not do it again. Yeah. Do it again. Take the lessons from this and do it again. Yeah. Right?
Precisely.
That's what it is.
Precisely.
But I'm glad you took that risk.
Yeah, so am I. And, things have worked out quite well. Yeah,
of course. Yeah. Appreciate you coming on the podcast.
Of course, brother.
You're a gentleman.
Thank you. I don't get called that very often.
I'm sure your missus calls you gentleman. Yeah. But mate, come back anytime.
Absolutely.
Mate, whenever you're in Dubai, hit me up.
Would love to.
Yeah. This has been Stirling Cooper. We're out.